So there's two things I want to talk about in today's video. One is going to be this brief little, I guess, description of this Rohan OVA thing that we have, just me talking about it. And then we're going to talk about Vento Aureo, because I know that with this announcement of this Rohan OVA, people are going to be like, hey, where's Vento Aureo? So first off, with the Rohan anime OVA, we have a new announcement for the Spoke Kishibe Rohan anime OVA that's coming out July 19th, 2018. We have visuals for the OVA. Looks pretty cool, whatever. They're putting the other one on DVD also, I guess. That's what it looks like. I can't read Japanese. If any of you guys can read Japanese, then you can go ahead and talk about that. But then there was also going to be a second volume of one-shots released, which releases on May 16th, which is 2018 5/16. And then this OVA is July 19th, 2018, which is 7/19/2018. So that's out of the way. Well, real quickly, I guess, I think it looks pretty cool. I don't really have too much else to say on it because we don't really have too much information on it yet. They already done one Rohan OVA last year. It was either last year or the year before, correct me. I'm pretty sure it was last year. I did a video on it over the summer talking about some of the stuff with the trailer. And if this is the same thing that's that, again, I'm not sure. But with this, surfacing, I kind of wanted to take the opportunity to talk about some of my thoughts on the Vento Aureo anime because I know a lot of people have been waiting for it. So before we talk about Vento Aureo's anime, let's look at Diamond is Unbreakable compared to the other parts and why I want to bring this up. Though Diamond is Unbreakable aired, they did not take any breaks at all doing the anime. Alright, they released episodes for week by week for however many episodes. I think it was 39, and finished it, and that was it. And at first, when they announced it as 39 episodes, a lot of people, like myself included, sat here and thought, damn, how are they gonna put all these arcs into 39 episodes? At first, it didn't seem like it was possible. It was really confusing as to them not taking any breaks like they did with the previous parts. Parts 1 and 2 were done back to back, I'm pretty sure, and then they took a break, and then they did part 3, and then part 3 has 2 seasons. They took a break between animating part 3. They did the first half of Stardust Crusaders, and then they did the second half, I guess, quote unquote, when they get to Egypt, and they took a break between animating those parts. And Diamond is Unbreakable didn't take any breaks, so there was a couple episodes here and there where the animation wasn't as great as others. And I'm not talking about art, okay? Because a lot of people get art and animation confused. I'm talking solely about animation. So when things are moving, how characters look, and movement, how fights look, stuff like that. Like, is this choppy? Is this smooth? Is this fluid? Is this less detailed? Is this like very detailed? I'm talking about that. I'm not just talking about the way it's like drawn, if that makes any sense, because some people like to say, oh, well, the animation is different from part 3 to part 4, but they're talking about the art style mostly when people say stuff like that. And yes, the art style is indeed different, because part 1 through 3 you have like that gritty, like super buff, like Macho Man-esque look to it, and it's animated differently, and they have all those like super dark face lines and stuff on them all the time, right? And that's a art style choice difference, and the manga was the same. The manga's art style changes throughout part 4, and it becomes what it looks, well, it gets closer to what it looks like now, because that was Araki's style changing over the years. His art style improved, his art style grew different, so I don't mind them changing the art style from the part 3 to the part 4 anime. That's fine, but because they didn't take breaks, they had those episodes where things just looked off. The episode might have looked really ugly at some points. The episode might have not looked as amazing, but in return, the next week you would get a super good episode that looked great and sounded great and was just overall amazing. And they did a really good job with the anime for the most part. And they also did release Blu-rays for Diamond is Unbreakable, where they sat down and they were able to redo scenes, and they corrected things, and they added more detail, and they reanimated stuff, and they made it look better because it's the Blu-ray release. They have time to actually sit down and work on it, and they're not worrying about putting out an episode every single week. So what does this have to do with part 5's anime? You might think, well, they haven't even announced the anime coming out yet, but whenever they eventually do, considering they've taken such a long time, what I currently think could be happening is that they have a different team doing this Rohan OVA stuff right now, and then they have a different team that is working on the Vento Aureo stuff in the background. Maybe, again, that's just like one of the possibilities that I could think of. Again, I'm not an animator. I don't work at David Productions. I don't know what their schedule is. I know they're doing that Batman CGI anime. I think it's called Batman Ninja. I think that looks pretty cool. It's like, whatever, sure. because it's pretty much the same animation as the JoJo parts 1, 2, and 3 openings. So it looks like that, and I think that looks pretty cool, but I don't know if they have other people working on other stuff, and potentially somebody working on Vento Aureo. And with that being said, I would rather they take their time on Vento Aureo, and if they have to split the part into 2 seasons like they did with Stardust Crusaders, go ahead, because then we'll end up getting a better product, and the end result, it'll end up looking better, it'll sound better. Maybe they will have more time to maybe, re-record voice lines or something if they ever have to. Just the more time that you take on something, the better it can end up being. So the more time that they focus on the anime and they separate the anime into maybe 2 separate seasons of them sitting down and animating the project and putting it together and releasing the episodes, would end up being better than them doing what they did with Diamond is Unbreakable's initial release, where it was week by week. And not to say that it was rushed, because again, they did a good job with it, like a really good job with the anime. I think that it was great, but it's not as good as it could have been. And I feel like with all this hype that's building around Vento Aureo and all this excitement, a lot of people are going to be disappointed because they have super high expectations. And quite frankly, I don't think your expectations are going to get met with the anime, because these anime are really good. The JoJo anime are very great. And in fact, I think that the part 1 and 2 anime are better than the manga, just because of the way it looks and sounds and stuff. But you're never going to get like a completely frame by frame perfect adaptation, because again, it's an anime. They want to appeal to people that watch anime. They want to appeal to people that are, sitting down and watching this stuff on TV in Japan, like, young teenagers and stuff that are into this shit, because it's shonen. They want to appeal to that demographic, and it's not meant to be a perfect frame by frame manga adaptation where they just take every single panel in the series and animate it. That's not what it is. It's just the anime adaptation. It's not meant to be a perfect frame by frame adaptation. But with them taking their time with Vento Aureo, it means that it'll look better, it'll sound better, and it'll overall just be a better experience. And I think that's what we should take it for whenever it does get announced, if it does end up getting announced, because who knows, they could just decide to never make more JoJo anime past part 4, and that would suck, because everybody's always talking about, being like 40 years old with like 3 kids and a wife, and talking about watching Steel Ball Run. It's like the joke. It's like, oh, this is gonna get animated when we have families and we have kids and shit, and we're gonna be super excited to watch it with them or whatever. And that's just kind of like the joke for it. But we don't know when these things will happen. But I just thought I would sit down and talk about all of this at once, because again, with this Rohan OVA announcement thing coming up, people are still gonna ask, hey, when's Vento Aureo? And quite frankly, none of us really know. We don't have any announcements for it. We don't know when it's going to happen. So all we can do is speculate. But I thought I would sit down and talk about this in general, because it was one of my concerns for Vento Aureo's anime. Once the Diamond is Unbreakable anime had come to a closing, I thought, damn, when they get to part 5, are they going to do the same thing? And are we going to get the same amount of quality that we got in these episodes? Or are they going to take their time, and are we going to get the slightly better quality that we got from some of the older anime parts? Let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comments. Share the video with anybody else that might be up for discussion, anybody that might have any ideas regards to this, how they might feel about the Rohan OVA or the Vento Aureo news that has yet to come, and overall just spread the video with anybody that might be interested in the topic. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.